Hello and welcome to the Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Zoe Hawkins, and my friend and co-host Jo Wheatley.
Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the differences between group and team coaching. And we're talking about that because coaches, as well as clients, often get confused about, are they different? Are they the same? In what ways are they different? And are they the same? And if I'm thinking about training in group coaching or team coaching, which one would I choose first? Does one naturally become before the other, etc., etc.? So we're going to do our very best to demystify that for you in our conversation today.
Yeah. And I think it's confusing because like teams are groups, and groups over time can feel like a team. So there is a blur of the edges. But I think a starting point for me would be, let's take group coaching as an example. And when I think about group coaching, I think about a group of people that are not connected outside of that group space. So they're a collection of individuals that are coming together for a common goal. So coaches may run group programs around how to support people to change their career, or it may be a group coaching program for parents with children of additional needs. It can be anything in the topic, but those people that come together share a common challenge and or a common goal. So that's how I think about groups, and that's how I would define what group coaching is.
I think one of the difficulties in the coaching world is there are team coaching competencies now, but there are not any group coaching competencies. So you think, well, why is that? And honestly, we don't know. It baffles us. And in our group and team coaching training, we have created some because we think it's important and we think that it's a gap. Not all coaches choose to work with teams. It's complex, systemic work, and not everybody's attracted to do that. Whereas I think it's quite a natural progression for coaches that are doing one-to-one work who will have some clients that want to be able to access their expertise but can't afford to access them on a one-to-one basis. And so they will inquire and say, do you ever run any group programs? Because often group programs are a bit more financially accessible than one-to-one, or they've got a one-to-one client that's got a huge amount of benefit from the one-to-one, and actually they would like to continue to engage with the coach but don't feel the need for the one-to-one. They actually would like to kind of build their network and kind of top up, if you like, in the work that they've been doing. So often that group coaching demand will come from clients. Sometimes it's driven by the coach and it's part of their business strategy and maybe always was from the beginning. So you can be a group coach without being a team coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And that doesn't mean that you only then work with private clients, because group coaching can also take place in organizations. And I think this is where it gets complicated again, because let's imagine an organization, they recognize that they need to strengthen their well-being strategy, for example. So you may offer, or the organization may offer, a particular topic around well-being. And so you're bringing people from different departments together onto a well-being coaching program. Or another fairly typical group coaching experience would be like leadership development programs, as an example. And I think there's a layer of complexity because these aren't pure group coaching programs. Like there's probably an element of education involved in there, but group coaching can be what is done between the edges. So on a leadership development program, typically you might have a session on authentic leadership, and maybe there's some activities that you do. But the debriefing of those activities, the way that you manage the group dynamics, the way that you bring that together, that's all group coaching. It just happens that the people that are on there, they're not a team, they are a group of people. And there's a complexity in managing the dynamics because some of those people will have relationships and some of those won't, and some will be senior and some will be junior. And so it all gets a little bit messy. So the skills that you need to handle group coaching within an organization are often some of the skills that you get from team coaching, because team coaching helps you to understand the psychodynamics at play. So as Jay said, we have a foundations of group and team coaching program, and we bring the dynamics into that group and team coaching space because they are valid in both of those scenarios.
And if you're coaching a group in an organization, you may also be an internal coach. So all of those people may be part of the same system. You may also be part of the system. And so there is a high degree of complexity within that. And then we have people saying, well, can I run a 1 day session with the team, using my coaching qualification that I've done? I haven't done group and team coaching. Can I do that? Or what about if it's a series of workshops in an organization where the people aren't part of a team, but you're running stuff on a topic? And to be honest, we're fairly relaxed about that. So aren't we? Like yes, use your coaching skills, work within your zone of competence, keep an eye out for what are your needs around development, and honor the contract that you've agreed to work in. So there is an ethical framework that you operate in. Obviously, if you are a member of one of the coaching bodies, but you can use your skills, of course. And even when you're in one-to-one, there is rarely a typical coaching session. You're going to be challenged around things in many different ways. But I love group coaching. I love the energy. I love the exchange. I love the challenge of it. I love the surprises within it. It's this idea of like many mirrors, like things being reflected around and brought up, and you come. It's like in a one-to-one where sometimes clients come, they think they're going to talk about something, they end up talking about something else. Why is that? It's because that relationship with you is influencing it. If you then have that experience within a group of 6, 8, however many people, you're constantly changing, and your perceptions are constantly changing. Your attention is being drawn to different things, and then at the end of it is, what are you settling down in terms of something that you're taking away? So I think it's a really amazing experience to see the relationships develop amongst those that are present as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's a little sample of group coaching. So if that's group coaching, then what's team coaching? And I think the easiest way to look at how team coaching differs is that, well, the people that come together for team coaching, they have prior relationships with each other. And so they are already a team. They are already a formed unit. Whereas your group members, when they come to their first session, aren't, they're not coming with a system that they each share. So team coaching is inherently a little bit more complex because you are already working with a system. And usually for team coaching, there is a system within a system. So the team have their own thing going on, and then they're embedded within an organization which will have its own culture and its own system. And that organization has its own place in the world. So you take more of a systemic lens when you're working with team coaching. And you will have things in dynamics like, so is the team leader part of the team coaching? And that will have a strong influence over the dynamic of the coaching that takes place, because there will be patterns of behavior that exist between team leader and what that role means and what it means to be a member of the team. But equally, roles will be present anyway within your team coaching. There may be somebody in the team, you're all on the same level, but that somebody is respected for, I don't know, the experience that they bring. So there may be some deference going on around this one person, perhaps that speaks up. So the sort of interactions, the dynamics, the systemic lens is what makes team coaching different from group coaching.
I think teams have a history. So people join, the team was created at a point in time. All of the members of the team may not have joined at that particular point, but most likely have not. And so everybody knows who joined when, it's like who got to the party first, and then are you then forming the group that people have to work out that they can come into, or are you that person coming into it? So they have a history. Teams will have histories, they'll have identities. Is this a team that is known to be successful? Is it a team where the high achievers and the high flyers go and they get nurtured and they go on to greater things? Or is it a team where you've got to try and survive because somehow people always seem to have a difficult time with the manager and nobody knows why, even though it's been different managers? And this is coming to mind at the moment. We're watching a program on Apple TV called Slow Horses, and it's about an MI5 group, and they're like, it has like the rejects, and it's the interaction between, you know, the organization and this team that are part of the organization but are also ostracized from the organization. And you know, for anybody that has worked with teams or anybody that works in organizations, I think you can always see echoes of these things around that. So a team coach needs to have an understanding of the history of the team, you know, and the goals are about the future of the team, and you're meeting the team in the present. Does everybody in that team have a shared understanding of that and the dynamics? And often with teamwork, you know, is it the leader that is bringing you in to do the work? Is it somebody from HR? Is it a different sponsor that's coming in? What sort of roles? What about, who are the stakeholders of the team? What do they have to say about that? Are there voices that are relevant to the team's goal that aren't present or haven't been thought about in the work? And, you know, that's part of the discovery phase that you do when you're exploring whether you're a good match to be supporting a team with a team coaching engagement.
Mm. There's the different levels of engagement. I think you're kind of talking to there. There'll be members of that team who are fully on board with the coaching, who are 100% behind the reason for it and the motivation for change and the goals that are there. And there may be members that are like, nah, you know, it's fine. So you're working with that as well. Whereas I think an assumption you can make with group coaching, where you have a collection of individuals who are paying an independent coach to join their group coaching program, the assumption is that they are motivated and ready, willing, and able to go on that journey to achieve what they want to achieve. Not always true. I've been in group coaching programs before where, like, the first session, met somebody, never seen again. Don't know why, because obviously I'm not the facilitator, so can't manage that. So but there are some light touch assumptions that you could draw into. But I think as a group and team coach, one of the things that comes up is similar is like the global learning that can take place when working with individuals together as opposed to individuals on their own. And it's such a normalizing experience to be able to be heard and witnessed and validated by other people in the room so that you feel less lonely. And I think, you know, the skills that you get through learning to be a group and team coach, they're applicable to both groups and teams. It's that, how do you elicit and ignite and inspire learning such that everyone can learn from each other?
Mm. I think it's a very different sort of energy exchange in team coaching, group coaching, and one-to-one coaching. So, you know, in one-to-one coaching, there's you and your client, and, you know, there's an energy exchange. It's a very intimate setup. You know, there's a certain degree of energy exchange. Then when you think about supporting a group, it's like all of a sudden there's a much bigger audience. So not only are they witnessing each other, but they're witnessing you. And initially, they're going to be looking very much to you as the coach. And that also depends on how you've set up the group coaching, the information they've had, how people engage with you, whether it's open access, whether it's in an organization. But just as a general principle, you as a coach have got a much bigger audience and lots of people's differing energies to support the group to notice and manage and, you know, figure out and contract around. And then when you've got a team coaching scenario, rather than like a number of different individuals, almost like holding jelly in a team, they may be you may have some clusters of the team that are very well connected and cohesive, and there may be some other individuals, or even a complete split, half and half maybe, and so that energy can be very different to notice and handle and you know, and support them with. So, you know, yes, coaches work to support teams to develop their performance, develop, you know, the psychological safety. But bottom line is, mostly you're going to be going in and working with teams that are experiencing dysfunction at some level. And maybe that's what coaching is, whether it's one-to-one, you know, or group or team. But if you're having to support a greater number of people with that, you really need to think about how you look after yourself as the coach. What support mechanisms do you have in place in order to be able to do that?
Mm. Yeah, and as we mentioned, dysfunction, like, let's normalize that as well, because dysfunction, when you get any number of people together, is to be expected. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's about recognizing that, we are not perfect, and perfection, high performance, however you want to describe it, is a journey. So you'll be working with dysfunction, but the flip side of dysfunction is you're working with growth, you're working with potential, you're working with what that team wants to become, and same with groups, but you're doing that from a position of the members. Like, what does the member want to become? What's the members sort of equivalent of dysfunction that is stopping them from being able to achieve that? So there are, when we think about group and team coaching, they are different, they're distinctly different. And there are similarities. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, like the skills that you will bring to group and team coaching, there are similarities. Yes, there are differences, nuances, and complexities from one to another that don't exist. But that's why we bundled group and team coaching together, because they are partners in the same story, in the same journey. There's a lot of complementary skills and approaches. And so if you've been thinking about becoming a group or team coach because you're drawn to work with more people, you have a passion for working at that sort of more systemic lens, then, come and check out our program, Foundations of Group and Team Coaching, which is available at igcompany.co.uk/group